Tell Me About It is brought to you by Don Franklin Auto of Glasgow, Extreme Health Club, and Lockshield Partners Accounting Services.
Hey, this is James Brown. Welcome back this week to Tell Me About It on Glasgow EPB Channel 6, local channel. Trevent Hayes, he's running some buffet or something today. Actually, the man's got many jobs. I don't know how he manages to do it all. So he couldn't be with us today. You can catch the show live every Thursday at 6 p.m. on the Glasgow EPB Channel 6. You can catch it anytime on the Glasgow EPB YouTube channel on 104thescore.com and kysports.tv. We're going to talk a little football, two types of football, depending on, if you spell it with F-U-T-B-O-L, we'll talk about that too. And then, of course, high school football. We had big Friday nights. We had some rivalry matchups. That would have been the Caverna-Hart County game. We had Barron County homecoming where they played Greene County and didn't go well. And then Glasgow played over at Adair County in a district match. So that was a good win for the Scotties. Let's start on that one. The Scotties were 5-0 coming into the game. Adair County was 4-1. Adair's only loss before that game was to Franklin Simpson. I believe it was 28-21. That was another district contest. So Glasgow played pretty well, did a good job. Stonebreakers now in Adair County, used to be at Casey, had a good run there. And I think his name is Lane Grant, the quarterback, sort of like last year at Casey County when Stonebreaker was there. It's a quarterback-centric offense. He had a couple of decent plays and that kind of thing, but for the most part, the Scotties did a good job defensively. Jarek Martin had a huge interception in the game that it didn't seal the game, but it kind of set Glasgow up in a situation where they could basically take control and rolled on from there. Easton Jesse bounced back from his struggles the week before against Barron County and had a big night throwing the ball, running the ball. Mason Arms had a big night running the ball. Rico Crowder, I think, had like 118 yards receiving. So yeah, the parts that were supposed to be clicking were clicking, and that was a good win for them. And sets up a critical showdown tomorrow night against Franklin Simpson. Both teams 6-0. Glasgow's 1-0 in the district. Franklin Simpson's 2-0 in the district. The Wildcats beat Butler County, which is probably the worst team of the 5 in the district. They've not seemed to be as competitive as the 3 that are still undefeated, that being Glasgow, Franklin Simpson, and Hart. And Adair County's competitive. They're just not quite there with those 3, I don't think. So it sets up a big game. It might be, if you were to look statewide, and I'm about to commit a crime here, it's got to be the biggest game in the state. I know Trinity and St. X are playing on Friday night as well, but you got 2 undefeated teams in the same district playing each other. The winner of the game will be in the driver's seat. So I know there will be 30,000 people watching that other game in Louisville, but this is a big one in 3A. And one of these teams will come out of this game in terms of how they're viewed outside this area as, they may get bumped way up in the stand, in the rankings. Right now, Hart County, which is, like I said, still undefeated, and Franklin Simpson are ahead of Glasgow in the rankings. I think Glasgow's in at number 10. Franklin may be 8 and Hart may be at 5, something like that. So, and meanwhile, Hart hosts Adair County this Friday. So we'll get to see after this Friday how things shake off. Of course, next week, everybody's taking the week off. It's fall break. We have no football games next week. But it'll be interesting. Meanwhile, Barron County, they just did not play well against Greene County. Greene County is very good this year. You could put Greene County in pretty much any class in any district, say for 2 or 3, and they would be competing for that number 1 spot in that district, probably. They have all the tools. They kind of came back last year out of nowhere and had a good run, had a very young team, really, and so almost all of those players were back. They are going to be one of the strongest teams in 2A this year, so they'll win their district. Their district also includes Monroe, Metcalf, Clinton County, and I can't remember who the other one is. So Greene will probably win that district. If they don't, it'll be a stunner. And they looked every bit as good as you would expect them to. When Greene County has good teams, I mean, they have really good teams, and they're right there right now. So Barron's struggle coming into the season, we talked to Coach Tommy Muse about this, was the defensive front and linebackers, because he had to replace so many of those players. I know we're halfway through the season, and so there's no excuse. You've gained that experience while playing the games, but still, there's an adjustment, and Greene County is a good team. And so what Barron struggles with is basically teams that can line up and run it down your throat, smash mouth football. They won't play a smash mouth football this Friday. They'll play North Hardin. Now, North Hardin is probably more akin to Glasgow. They have speed everywhere. They have, I believe, a Kentucky commit on there as a wide receiver on their roster, and maybe a lineman as well who's going somewhere. So they're always talented. They're always tough. But it may be, people will look, if Barron wins the game, people will definitely look kind of askew at it. But if it's a close game and that kind of stuff, people are going to go, well, how can you lose to Monroe and Greene and compete so well against North Hardin? And right now, the bottom line is the Trojans secondary is what was coming back, and those guys are very good. I mean, they're a lot of the same ones we see on the offensive side, especially Tate Spillman and Bray Bewley doing things. They're playing that secondary, and those guys are good. They struggle some up front. North Hardin generally is not a team that's going to line up and run it down your throat. They're going to sling it all over the field, try to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and so it'll be an interesting game, I do believe. Now, North Hardin is 1-4, but their one win is against Davis County. They've lost, the other 4 losses are to teams that are, I believe, a combined 19-3, 19-4. That includes losing to like South Warren, Bullitt East, some of these guys. Pleasure Ridge Park, I think, was one of the other ones. So they always do play one of the toughest schedules. They will come in this game ready. So the Trojans need to bounce back. They need to try to figure out how to get a win here in the district and try to stay out of that 4 slot. North Hardin is a winnable game for them. They've played well against them the last few years. They also have Warren Central in the district. That'll be another game that I think is winnable for them. Looked like Central Hardin was going to be the class of the district, but, after their loss to Bowling Green, I was a little shocked that it was that lopsided. Bowling Green beat them like they stole something. So, but Central Hardin is a team that I think causes Barron more problems than the other 2 in a lot of ways, especially this year. Meanwhile, the Colonels will be on the road at Fulton County. I think it takes 3 hours to get from Caverna High School to Fulton County High School, which is in Hickman, Kentucky. If you got to look that up, then you might think you're looking in Missouri. It's right over on the Mississippi River. I mean, it's almost as far west as you can get in the state of Kentucky. I think it is the farthest west high school in the state, but I'm not 100% certain about that. So quite a haul. The Colonels lost to Hart County 46-6. I mean, look, Hart's good. Everybody knew they were going to be good. It was going to be a mismatch from the get-go, numbers-wise, and all that kind of jazz. In the district, though, I think Caverna has a really good chance. I'm with Coach Hayes whenever we were talking about this last week. They need to win these 3 district games and get that first home game. They really need. I know it's going to be a long trip. The game will kick off at 7:30 instead of 7. I mean, it's going to be a long trip on a bus. You get over there. It may take a little bit to get started, but hopefully they got some plans together, and hopefully they can win that game over at Fulton County. Meanwhile, also in their district, Russellville is going to be playing at Ballard Memorial on Friday night. So we'll get a really good look early for that district, what kind of position Caverna is going to be in. I still think they should be, talent-wise, the best team in the district, and I hope it pans out that way. Real quick on the soccer/FUTBOL front, the 15th district tournament starts Saturday. On the boys' side, Glasgow's the 1 seed. They were 6-0 in the district, 12-4-1 overall. They had a couple of barn burners against Warren East during the regular season, and the one game against Barron was close for a while. They beat Barron pretty handily both times, which is just surprising to me, because Warren East and Barron's both games were by a goal, which the second game was actually on penalty kicks. That's the 2-3 matchup, East and Barron County. East is 9-5, Barron's 9-10. And then Allen County is the 4 seed. That's who Glasgow will play first. The boys' games are at the new Barron County Field over on Trojan Way next to the central office they have now. What used to be basically the Glasgow Christian Academy complex area over there. The boys' first game, Glasgow Allen, is at 2 o'clock on Saturday. The boys' second game, East and Barron, is at 4 o'clock. Championship is 4:30 on Sunday. On the girls' side, Warren East is the one seed. They are 18-1 overall, 6-0 in the district. Their only loss was Christian Academy of Louisville, and it was lopsided. That was, I think, in the championship game of the two-way soccer tournament, girls' soccer tournament. But yeah, they're really good. Their leading scorer, she's only in her second year there. She's a junior. Has already set the record at Warren East for goals scored by an individual. So yeah, they're the 1 seed. They'll play Glasgow, which is a 4 seed. Glasgow's not won a game, but look, they've played so much better of late. I told Coach Scott Zettelmoyer, I thought he's done an excellent job. He has 1 senior. He has a bunch of young players trying to teach them how to play. Season started out real rough for them, and whenever you have a season like that, things can go south. The players can give up, they can quit. They've not done that. They've kept competing. He's done a heck of a job keeping them together, and they've improved. I mean, they only lost to Barron 2-1 last week. They lost to Franklin Simpson 1-0 in their last game of the regular season. They really hoped they could win that one. So, East is heavy favorites in that matchup. That game's going to be at 10 a.m. on Saturday at Trojan Way. And then Barron and Allen will play at noon. Barron is 9-6-1 overall, 4-2 in the district. Allen's 9-9. Barron won both games during the regular season, obviously. If you're just drawing a circle and saying which 2 teams are going to make it to that championship game, which will be 2:30 on Sunday, you're going to say it's going to be East and Barron. And that's the way it should work out. Next week is fall break. The fall sports season is closing in on the end. We'll have I don't think any of the volleyball teams are playing during fall break, so we'll have basically about a little over a week left in the volleyball season when we get back from fall break. And we're closing in on the end. We are week 6 of the high school football season, so it's going to be a lot of fun. You can go check out the soccer brackets on 104thescore.com if you want to see those. Check out photos from the football games last week, and stay tuned there for coverage from Friday night. All right, this is James Brown here on Tell Me About It on Glasgow EPB Channel 6 local channel. We'll be right back.
At Don Franklin, we're more than a group of car dealerships. We're hardworking, everyday people of Kentucky. We strive daily to give 110% to our customers, our employees, and our families. We are committed to providing everyone with a safe and reliable vehicle, and we continue our tradition of supporting our local communities. At all 24 dealerships across Kentucky, we will treat you like family. Don Franklin Family of Dealerships, we are Kentucky.
Extreme Fitness has doubled in size, now with over 8,000 square feet of co-ed weights and an upgraded 90-degree saline therapy pool. The Extreme Fitness campus also holds the exclusive Extreme Fitness for Women complex and Extreme Blend smoothie bar. You have to experience the variety of classes to realize the impact they have on their clients. Personal training is with the best in the business and is available and tailored to fit individuals. So start your journey today at Extreme Fitness and Health Club.
Lockshield Partners Accounting Services provides professional and trusted expertise to our clients. Our team offers individual, business, and nonprofit tax preparation services, as well as payroll, bookkeeping, and consulting year-round. Call or visit our office today so our team can work for you while you and your loved ones focus on what really matters, because together we plan.
Welcome back to Tell Me About It, Glasgow EPB Channel 6 local channel. We air every Thursday night at 6 p.m. And you can catch the show anytime on the Glasgow EPB YouTube channel, 104thescore.com, kysports.tv. We're going to talk a little high school golf. As we mentioned in that first segment, we're closing in on the end of the fall sports season, and golf is the first one out the door to start the season and the first one back in the house to finish the season. We opened the season, we didn't know how it was going to look. We knew that both Glasgow and Barron had some experienced golfers, especially on the boys' side. And so we knew that there were going to be some possibilities for them to compete for a regional title. Probably not state, but during the course of the season, the way Jamison Corbin had played kind of said he might be one of those guys in contention for the state title. It didn't work out that way. So the region kind of ended up being, I know for a number of those guys, disappointing way to close out their high school careers. Glasgow finished third by a stroke on the boys' team side. 3 of them did qualify for the first round of the state, which was this week at Calvert City Country Club. But of course, Jamison Corbin it was his worst round of the year, unfortunately for him. And not the first time, we were talking about this on the Brown Sports Bag, John Butler and I, not the first time we've witnessed some of the best golfers in the last 20 years, and not just in the area, but around the state, who got to that either regional tournament or state tournament, and they just had their worst day. I mean, we're talking about people who have gone on to have outstanding college careers. We're talking about people who have gone on to play on the pro tour and or some of the secondary pro tours, and maybe played in some U.S. Opens and that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's a culmination, especially when it's your senior year, it's a culmination of getting to that tournament, and maybe the thoughts of this is it if I don't play well, and then kind of go out there and have one of those days. The downside of golf is that if it's you having that bad day, and it's such an individually focused sport, or you have a bad shot, there's nowhere for you to go. If you have a moment where you think, oh my gosh, everybody just saw that, then you're probably toast. It's going to be hard to bounce back from that. And it happens. It happens all the time. I've told the story before about covering a girl from Monroe County who was right there, expected to win the state. And I think she had a hole at the state tournament where she just had, it was really 2 holes probably, where the wheels just came off for it. I do remember the weather was miserable. We were over at Bowling Green Country Club. It was cold and rainy, and I felt so bad because I was going to try to interview her, and she was just shattered by her day. Went on and had a great career at University of Louisville. So, it just happens. You just never know when it's going to happen. And it is a shame that it happens at the end of that senior year, playing in that regional tournament. And so we did end up on the boys' side. We ended up with 3 from Glasgow, Bo Shelton and Jace Cook, 2 seniors who made the cut to go to the first round of the state. Senior Kyler Keeney from Barron County, and then 7th grader Griffin Jackson, who also made the cut. And then they went and played at the first round of the state. The cut line worked out to be 77. Jace Cook shot 79. He was the closest. So he was off the cut. Keeney shot 81, and I think Jackson and Shelton both shot 82. And talking about disappointments, all right, so Bowling Green as a team coming in, they were one of the teams, they won the region handily, went to that first round of state. They were one of the teams that a lot of people thought had a real shot of winning the state title. They finished 4th, so they didn't even make the cut as a team to the state tournament next week at Bowling Green Country Club. Man, talking about, again, those experiences where you're just like, I can't believe this has happened. I think they missed it by 1 stroke, as a matter of fact. So you just never know how it's going to work out. Jacob Lang, who struggled at the region, came back and won that first round of state. So he's from Greenwood. So he's headed to the state tournament on a high note. Good luck to him. One thing on the boys' side for the Region 3 golf is there were a ton of seniors on these teams. At Glasgow, there were 2 seniors, and then you had, I think, a junior, sophomore, and the 7th grader. So they'll have a good group coming back, but of course they will miss Bo Shelton and Jace Cook. On the Barron County team, you had Jamison Corbin, Keeney, Eli Hodge, and Hayes Atkinson, who were all seniors playing there. Now, I think Barron has a couple of younger guys that'll be coming in, of course, who will put them, I think, right back to be competitive as a team as long as those guys can improve their stroke some. But yeah, Greenwood and Bowling Green are losing a ton of players. I don't know how much that opens the door next year for somebody else to win that region, but I think it's there. And there may be a couple of dark horses. I mean, Allen County Scottsville may be a team to look for in the region next year. They have 2 or 3 guys who are really good, and I'm pretty sure none of them were seniors, as a matter of fact. So it'll be interesting how next year works out. On the girls' side, Barron County finished 3rd in the region on the girls' side. 3 of them made the cut for the first round of the state. And Chloe Witcher shot 84 on Monday at Calvert City Country Club, and so she'll be playing in Bowling Green next week. She won a 2-hole playoff between 3 players for 2 spots. Hope that made sense. So she'll be in Bowling Green next week. She's a sophomore. And then Lucy Zala and Kinsey Edwards both made Chloe's a freshman. And then Lucy Zala and Kinsey Edwards both made the cut for the first round of the state. They did not make the cut to make it to Bowling Green. Lucy Zala is a sophomore and Kinsey Edwards is a junior. So all of Barron County's team will be back next year. And they'll be right there back in the hunt, I do believe. On the difference on the girls' side for the region tournament, for the Region 3, is that almost all the teams are pretty young. So it'll be the same ones in the mix more than likely next year with South Warren, Bowling Green, Barron. And I don't know if Cumberland County, Kinsey Willen won the individual at the region from Cumberland County. She's a freshman. I'm not sure how strong they are as a team, but they have her, they have Walden, and a couple of others. Cumberland County may be one of those programs next year, and I've said this, not necessarily on this show, but I've said this on the Round Sports Bag because I knew they had these young golfers over there. Don't be surprised if they pop up there at some point in time and are a challenge at the top as a team. Certainly they got a couple of individuals who can be there. So, that kind of wrapped up the golf season with the exception of Chloe Witcher playing over in Bowling Green next week. Good luck to her. It's going to be an interesting experience for her. She's not played as well as she wanted to recently. She started out the season shooting in the 70s. She shot over 80 for a little while now. So maybe she can find her rhythm over there at Bowling Green Country Club in the finals of the state tournament. Although that course can be really tough at the finals, especially the greens. They are usually pretty rough out there. Real quick, let's talk about some college football. WKU plays their 100 miles a hate rival. I know there's a Twitter account called that. I don't know where that comes from. They play Middle Tennessee on Thursday night. Dalvin Smith from Glasgow, he hadn't played the last couple of games since he got hurt. He didn't play against Ohio State, and I don't think he played any snaps last week at Troy. So hopefully he's back on the field. They obviously need him. They lost that game at Troy 27-24. They got a short turnaround to play this Middle Tennessee game. I'm not sure what their struggles were. They at times they were really good in that game, but they got in a hole, I think, and then they just couldn't quite get out of it. Meanwhile, Louisville plays Friday night. Pardon me for looking at my phone. They play Friday night against NC State. Louisville's 4-0, NC State's 3-1. That's probably going to be the toughest team they've played so far. That'll be a heck of a game. Jeff Brom obviously has done a really good job getting the Cardinals going. So, it's going to be an interesting setup for them. I think that's a game they can win. I mean, look, Louisville's in good shape in the ACC. The ACC might be down a little bit. Louisville's got the top of the conference coming up, and so they make a little run here. You look around, and all these people who have been begging for Brom for years and wish they had hired him whenever they hired Satterfield, they will have nailed it. So we'll see if that works out. I mean, hopefully that's the way it goes. I look forward to it. In the college football realm, we often like to talk about Coach Prime on here, who was not SWAC. Oregon beat them 46-6. Was that it? 42-6 was the final score. And all of those things that take the longest to actually build in a program, especially getting depth on defensive and offensive lines, you can find skill players, I think, people who are fast, that if you run a wide open offense and you have a quarterback, which they do, Shedeur Sanders, who can deliver the ball, then they can put points up. But when it comes to the physical nature of the game and football, people seem to forget this. I don't know why, but the game is won and lost in the trenches. I mean, it's not, used to it was about can you run for 3 yards in a cloud of dust repeatedly without anybody stopping it. These days it's can you block, and then can you open holes for these read options and that kind of stuff, and can you maintain possessions? Can you keep your quarterback upright without getting knocked silly? And that's why it's won and lost, because either your defensive line can get to the other team's quarterback, or they can clog those holes, or they can't. And your offensive line can either prevent the defensive line from doing those things, or it can't. And Oregon just is the team to wear them out, and they did it. And, Sanders said this is, good old-fashioned butt whipping. It was, and that they better get them now because they're young. That may be true. I mean, he may be right about that. They play USC next, and I don't think that game will be quite so lopsided, because I do think USC's not as physical in the trenches. I think people may have not realized how good Oregon was, and they've been kind of rebuilding, retooling, revamping from what they used to be in the good old days of Nike buying everything for them. But hey, they were there, and they showed the difference. They showed the gap that actually exists between a powerhouse team and one that's on the rise. And it wasn't surprising to me. I did think Colorado would put up more points. I just figured they'd figure out a way. And I also think that maybe we didn't take into account the loss of Travis Hunter, how much that was really going to mean and that kind of stuff, because I'm sure that had a huge impact in a lot of ways on both sides of the ball, but especially on offense, because he's a guy that can make things, he's dynamic, he can make things happen. And, so I'm sure all that played a role. But right now, on the college football scene for us, Louisville's looking good. Western Kentucky University really needs to win these conference games to get where they need to be. The loss to Troy is disappointing in a sense, but it's not a conference game, so it's fine. And then Kentucky, Florida's up next, so let's see if they can generate enough offense week in, week out to really make some noise in the SEC. That's all I have for you this week here on Tell Me About It, Glasgow EPB Channel 6, local channel. We'll be back again next week.